All right. Hi, we're here with Anol
Hi.
in Athens, preparing for the World Beautiful Business Forum. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Oh, hi. I'm Anol, and I'm here on behalf of Hotwire. And for Hotwire, I lead the AI Lab division. My actual title is kind of very mouthful, EVP of Technology and Innovation, but just resident mad scientist and head of AI Lab is good enough.
We are here at the World Beautiful Business Forum in Athens. It's 2026. As Hotwire, we are part of multiple tracks and we are sponsoring the Agentic Agora track. What are you most looking forward to and what are you expecting from these
Right,
4 days?
right. Now, before I go into that, what I'm expecting, and obviously, House of Beautiful Business cover many things, right, from politics to philosophy, and to AI, which is now in every track somehow. I'm mostly interested in that. But one of the things I'm expecting that it should not be the same as all other conversation going around AI. If you open LinkedIn, any Substack, there is very much the signs of polarization. So one group of people is talking about AI will end world hunger problem and everyone will live happily ever after, and another group is like if we build it, everyone dies. So this, to me, this polarized conversation is very unproductive, and I am expecting the conversation in House of Beautiful Business, um, at least few, if not more, are going to be some nuanced conversation, never in completely black or completely white, because truth lies in somewhere between. So that's what I'm looking forward to, some mature conversation around AI and its implication on individual, on society, and organization.
And this Friday, you have a session with Elaine Kasket.
Mhm.
Can you tell us more about it? And is there anything that you want to say to her before?
Right, and Ellen is the reason I'm here, right? So I actually did an article in Beauty Shot, which is House of Beautiful Business newsletter, and Ellen wrote a fiery response to that, right? And that's how we got to know each other. And so my talk with Ellen is it's something like what we do regularly, bi-weekly, over Zoom, and now we are doing it in audience. So what we discuss mostly about that how we are handing off the agency to the agents, AI agents, and without much of a understanding of the consequence and how that affects the individual, society, and organization, particularly in this case. And although I'm head of AI Lab, I should be singing praise to AI all the time. But rate of change is so rapid, and just getting into this overhyped drive about AI is unhelpful for everyone. And when we are phrasing this and what we discussed, which will not be part of our conversation, but why we are facing this challenge. If you look at from the starting from the agricultural age to industrial age to knowledge economy to digital, and now digital to AI, the time period where the change happens is reducing, like 100 years to 50 years to 25 years to 10 years, and now we have few years. So we are not ready as organization, as society, as individual to cope with that. So that's one of the things we are discussing, that what can go wrong, what can go right, and what should we look after, like what agency we should not be handing over to AI agents.
What is a deeply human skill that you will believe will become even more important in the AI enabled workforce and
There,
world?
there are multiple. First is human to human connection. Is B2B, B2C, whatever business you look at, it is ultimately B2B, a person to person. And especially for Hotware or YDNA, we are in the business of trust. And trust is only between a human to another human. There is no transference of that agency to AI. That's one. But another big thing we normally don't talk about is the taste. You can create amazing artwork right now with Nano Banana or Imagen 2 of GPT, but you cannot teach it taste, right? So I'll say the creative direction, I'm just giving into one specific area. You can extrapolate that into writing, you can extrapolate that into coding, to a board deck, anything. Taste and trust is always going to be there. Even AGI or artificial general intelligence comes into the picture, super intelligence comes into the picture. These two factors are never going to be replaced by AI, right? So all organizations should be looking at that. I'll continue on that. Another part is, imagine everything is solved, like all the happily ever after AI storytellers are telling us, that there is no need to figure out what and how. It's AI doing everything, but still we need to decide why, right? Why we are doing something and then do it. And that's the biggest challenge of the next generation going to be passed on, to decide. And if you look at that why question is a matter of taste. That how you design the organization, society, and your life is a matter of taste, and that cannot be replaced by AI.
What role do you want Hotwire to play for brands to adopt AI responsibly?
Right, and one of the things we have to do for that, to tell brands what to do, and we should believe that, not only just to say to brands that do this, we have to do it by ourselves. And we are on the path of that. So one of the things we decided, as not only just Hotwire level, as NRO level for all the 4 agencies under it, that we will never have human on the loop. We will always have human in the loop. That means no one underwriting AI output and going to outside world. Somebody need to be responsible, actually write it off. So you cannot just pass the responsibility or mitigate the responsibility to AI, which is funny, right? Because right now, if you see that, go to LinkedIn and you see that how many posts are there about complaining about AI slop, right? And at the same time, we are accepting AI slop as a natural thing, which constantly going into a vicious cycle. So first thing is, there has to be, the human need to be responsible for that. And that's what we are telling our clients too. You cannot completely automate a press release, completely automate a article. So what in our company we are trying to practice is something we call 20-70-10 rule. So basically the ideation, you do not give it to the agents, AI agents. It is still a human agency to come up with the original ideas. Otherwise, you are just another company doing that. So first is the ideation. Then next 70%, yes, AI can do drafting, outlining, creating the content, but then you cannot outsource the editorial responsibility. So there the test comes in. So ideation and editorial responsibility still remains very much human, and nobody should be underwriting that. There should not be an AI completely autonomous agent doing end to end. Then where is the end? There will be no agency left in the earth. Every company can just hire a bunch of agents and do that, right? So that's what we should, we are in the path of adopting that, as well as what we are suggesting to our clients to adopt.
You use the word responsibility quite a bit. How would you say that you balance responsibility when it comes to experimentation at the AI lab?
Right. And this is the most vital question for us all the time. I can give you a concrete example. Like, I do play with OpenClaw, right? But I use that in a contained environment in a Mac Mini where it is no access to any other file system, so no client data is there, etc., etc. And so experimentation need to be done, but we cannot again erode the trust of our client. It has to be absolutely foolproof that nothing can touch that. And that's pretty difficult thing technologically. If you look at that, if we deploy a AI model, say we deploy Claude, how do we separate out all the client's information differently? And how is the, like there was a concept of, we thought about that agency brain, right? So whatever we do for any clients, it kind of gets stored anywhere and we can have an interaction with that. Challenge with that is, yes, we are doing experimentation on that, but until we are 100% sure that that agency brain is extracting the context of the client information out, we're never going to deploy that, right? So experimentation is good, but we cannot play with trust. Our clients trust us with their very sensitive material in marketing or comms. We completely look at 100% proof, then bring it to market. We did it for Spark, we did it for Radiate. When this is completely foolproof plan, then we bring it to market. Otherwise, it's in the lab, few mad scientists working on that, and that's it, right? So.